Joining us now, I'm delighted he's with us, former governor of the great state of Minnesota, Tim Pawlenty, fresh off the big South Carolina debate last night, and he joins us now. Governor Pawlenty, how are you?
Well, I couldn't be better. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. And look, Governor, you know that I'm tough on everybody across the board. I don't have any picks in this campaign. I watched last night and I saw Juan Williams ask you that question. How do we create jobs? You told a nice story about your own, personal experience, but I didn't hear a real concrete, specific answer. So what is the answer to that question?
Of course, in 30 or 60 seconds, it's hard to go through the whole list last night, but it basically...
Well, how about one thing?
Get the government off my back. That's what the job providers are saying. Cut taxes. Get spending under control. Quit having fiat money so that we drive up inflation and decrease everybody's net worth. Stop having Obamacare drive jobs out of the country or not start to begin with. Go back and fix Sarbanes-Oxley so we don't have such big compliance burdens, particularly in our mid- and small-sized firms. Dodd-Frank's... killing our banks in many ways and hurting our ability to finance new businesses and startups. Make sure that we have a regulatory environment in the country that's not slow and burdensome and expensive. Make energy more affordable so that the input costs for farmers and businesses and producers all across the country aren't so high. And make sure we do everything we can to get more American sources of energy. And the list goes on and on. But
I like that list.
A ton of work to be done.
Yeah, I like that list. I like that answer. And look, it's always hard in these forums, right? I mean, you got the panel of the media there, you have everyone up on a stage and the live audience and so forth. The reviews have come in on this debate, and it's early on. I'm not trying to make more of this than it is. The National Journal title, Pawlenty Lackluster at First GOP Debate. Tim Pawlenty didn't flub his national television debut, but failed to dominate his lesser-known and more eccentric Republican rivals at the first debate of the 2012 presidential election. And then Fox did a focus group afterward with Frank Luntz. And overwhelmingly, the focus group, some of them I think were supporters of yours, but overwhelmingly after the debate, they seemed to like Herman Cain. What's your take on this?
Well, my take on it is I'm still getting introduced to the country. That's not well known in many parts of the country just yet, but we're getting good support. And so there's going to be different reactions to different candidates, but I think it comes down to this, Laura. There are going to be some candidates who are well known, have high name ID and the like, who can't get the nomination for various reasons. There'll be others who are less well known but are exciting to one slice of the conservative coalition, but can't unite the whole party. And then you got some folks who are going to be, appealing to the party, but I can't go and win the general election in places like Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and the like. So you got to have somebody who can do all of that, and I can. And we got a lot of people in the race. I like and respect them all, but many of them are going to appeal to one slice of the conservative coalition. But you got to be able to unite the whole thing, and I can, and still go out and win in swing states like the Midwest.
So you were happy with your performance?
Well, I'm not going to be the loudest or most extreme or craziest person in the race. That's just not me, and I don't want to be that person, and it's not authentic. So if somebody's looking for the loudest person or most extreme person in the race, and I'm not saying that's Herman Cain, he did a fine job, but that's not my space in the race. There's a big conservative coalition here that's economic conservatives, social conservatives, Tea Party libertarian conservatives, national defense and security conservatives. I can appeal across that whole continuum. Most of the other candidates can appeal in one or two of those buckets, but not all of them.
Rick Santorum last night, I think he in that focus group, I think he was maybe the second most liked, and I think people kind of liked his performance. This is one of the things he said about conservatism.
A lot of people up here can check the boxes and say they have conservative positions, but I've led on every one from social conservative issues, on life and marriage, and I've got the arrows in my back from the mainstream media to prove it.
What's your reaction to that?
Well, the National Review Online did an article and said I was probably the most pro-life candidate in the race. The Cato Institute, which is libertarian and tough grading, gave only 4 governors in the country an A grade for their financial conservatism. I was one of those 4, the only one in the north half of the country. The other 3 aren't running for president. And I've got a record, Laura. All these candidates are going to say about the same thing on taxes and health care and terrorism and being pro-life and pro-family, and I am too, but one of the differentiating things is going to be who's actually done it. And if you go look at my record in Minnesota on taxes, on spending, on life, on marriage, I'm not just flapping my jaw and offering failed amendments in Congress that didn't get done. I got the job done. So many of the candidates are going to say many of the same things, but the question is going to be who's got the actual fortitude to do it, not based on words, not based on speeches, not based on failed amendments in Congress, but who actually got it done. In Minnesota, I did, and under difficult circumstances, and fought hard. And so don't confuse being loud with being strong. I shut down the government for the first time in 150 years.
Are you saying that Santorum was loud last night? You keep saying words like loud and crazy.
I'm not talking about Rick. I'm not talking about Rick particularly. I think
who was loud last night?
I'm just saying if the measure is who got it done, I got it done.
Oh, okay, I like that. That's a little bravado. Yeah, I like that, Pawlenty. That's a good thing. President Obama went to Manhattan yesterday, met with some of the 9/11 families. There were obviously some great moments there. There's some concern. Victor Davis Hanson, other people raising the issue of this is all becoming a little bit extended from the killing of Obama on Sunday, now all the way through till today. Terrible jobs report coming out this week. We've lost an enormous amount of jobs, and now the unemployment rate has ticked up to 9%. Do you agree with this, that this narrative has become a little bit too first person? The President of the United States?
Well, I thought it was appropriate for him to go to New York. Look, it's a momentous time for our country to find and kill Osama bin Laden. We look to the President, regardless of who that is. We look to the office of the President for a moment to remember the loss, to comfort the families, to remind us of our values and our commitment and persistence to things like hunting down terrorists and getting rid of them. So it's appropriate, I think, for the President to have a moment like that. And I thought he did it in a measured, appropriate way. So it was fine. I'm going to get worked up about that.
Governor, there have been, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, meetings at the White House, some closed-door meetings. There have been people from politics and from the entertainment industry, and it continued really to last night at a Cinco de Mayo party where there's been an extra effort to do outreach to Latinos across the United States. Mel Martinez came to the White House a few weeks ago. Arnold Schwarzenegger, a few other Republicans met, a bipartisan meeting about immigration reform. Do you think Republicans at this point should be working with President Obama for a path for citizenship for those who are here illegally right now in the United States?
No, I don't. But I do think we should do a number of other things, which is start by reminding the Hispanic community and many other communities across the country that President Obama made promises to them and broke them, so they shouldn't trust him twice when it comes to 2012. But we have to sequence the immigration debate, and the first thing in the sequence is to enforce the border. Laura, I was one of the only few governors in the country to voluntarily send troops to the Mexican border. My Minnesota National Guard troops, our Minnesota National Guard troops, as part of Operation Jumpstart to enforce the border. We got to get confidence back in the discussion by making sure we have a secure border. There's a lot that goes into that, but that's the first step, and we should focus first right there.
Well, there seems to be a number of Republicans, and I know you know Jeb Bush and Karl Rove and others, and Karl's been on the show. I like Karl Rove a lot, but they have a very different view, I think, on the immigration issue. And they say things like, well, we need to enforce the border first. Well, let's say we say the border's enforced. Let's say tomorrow the border's enforced. We can declare that it's enforced. I don't know why it's taken us so long, but it's enforced. Then what should step 2 be, Governor?
Step 2 is to do the thing that next matters, which is most immigrants, illegal immigrants, come here for a job. So if you want to be serious about combating illegal immigration, you have to make the screen on whether somebody's here legal or illegal quick, fast, easy, and accurate at the point of employment. The system we have right now is an I-9 form. If I applied to you, Laura, for a job, you'd bring out the I-9 form. I'd bring out some documents, Guatemalan birth certificate, Honduran passport. You'd check a box that I presented them to you on the I-9 form. You'd photocopy my documents. You'd staple them to the back of the I-9 form, and you'd throw them in the file. Well, guess what? That's a 1950s system. It's paper-based, and it's filled with fraud. We need to move towards a verifiable, electronic, accurate, quick, non-burdensome check at the point of employment as to determine whether somebody's here legally or not. One system that's worked is pretty well. It's called E-Verify. It's not perfect, but it's getting better. When I was governor, I issued an executive order that anybody who wanted to be hired by the state, do business with the state, or their subcontractors had to use E-Verify, and it helps a great
Governor,
deal.
Yeah, that's an interesting issue, an interesting debate, and obviously that conversation has to be had about employment. But there are millions of people here in the United States now who've been working and they haven't been breaking laws, and they say, look, we should have the right to vote. Well, what will you say to those people?
People who are here illegally have a right to vote?
Right. They want the right to vote, and Democrats want to give it to them.
No. We can't have people here illegally voting. That's not,
no. Should they ever have the right to vote? Should there be a process that is in place that will allow them to become regularized and eventually citizens of this country so they can participate in the process?
Well, the premise behind all these proposals is we need to do something with a whole bunch of people who are here illegally, as if we have to solve their problem for them. And I would challenge the premise, which is, what is it that is about their status that would require that we solve the problem that they created for themselves by coming here illegally? So, if we've got a drug runner in Denver who's running meth up from Mexico, where I think we want to make sure that person gets apprehended and thrown out of the country. If you got a grandma who's been here 30 years and a son and daughter's been in Iraq or Afghanistan, you probably don't put priority on hunting that person down, but if they come to our attention, their legal status is still illegal.
So no voting rights for people who are here illegally in the United States today?
Of course not.
Okay. Well, I'm with you on that. I'm just curious. Would you have done the Islamic burial at sea, Governor?
Yeah, I think it's okay. I think the president was trying to be, mindful of not making bigger problems. But I think he doesn't deserve that. He didn't give our people that when he crushed 3,000 of them and bombed them and did other things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gotten that worried about it. But I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue.
Not big of a deal. I enjoyed watching the debate last night. We really appreciate your joining us. Say hi to everybody in Minnesota. Governor Tim Pawlenty on the Laura Ingraham Show. Governor, come back anytime. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Laura.